Hello, good morning. This is Erin with the Joy in Pens and Paper. And I say good morning because for me, it is Sunday morning, August 6th. And I'm going to go through and do some memory keeping. I did get some feedback that there was kind of a good feeling about separating the memory keeping from the weekly planning. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. Let's see how that goes. So diving into this week, it was kind of a different week for me with doing more professional development, attending a 3-day conference, and less kind of my typical routine. So getting into my weekly, let me move my coffee out of the way. I'm gonna grab my box of stickers. And we're gonna put this right here. So I'm putting this little piggy bank because I did make a purchase yesterday that through this late spring and this summer, I took over money management for our family and did a lot of research and such, and learned a little bit more about high interest savings accounts, which I should have known. I'm about to turn 40 and I'm just learning all this, but I had opened a credit card account under my name. I don't have the best credit and I'm working on fixing that. So I opened it under my name, and based on spending habits, if I charged and paid for $1,000 within the first 3 months, I got a bonus $200, and there's also some bonuses for referrals and if people sign up for a card, and I'm hoping to cash in on some of those. But I used that $200 bonus and made a purchase that I was hoping to make had I gone to New York City for my birthday, as well as because the plans for New York City fell through. My next plan was at the Commonwealth Pen Show in September, but I just went to look for tickets and saw that the Commonwealth Pen Show is canceled. So the combination of those two things, Atlas Stationers was having a sale for 15% off yesterday, and so I cashed in on that and made a purchase. So I'm putting that little piggy bank because that cost me nothing. The purchase qualified for free shipping, and I'm just going to use the $200 bonus, and I didn't even use all of that. So I'm very, very excited about that. Let's see. It's going to be an interesting week because I just did so many different, kind of, yes, this little guy. Part of the conference, they had slam poetry, and just a little tidbit about me, I don't like slam poetry at all. Not my jam. I have a hard time appreciating it. I just don't like it. Is what it is, right? That was and it was from Lizard Lounge, which we all thought, because they just said Lizard Lounge, which is, I believe it's a venue in Cambridge that typically does bands, and we were thinking it might have been the house band for Lizard Lounge, which myself and my colleagues were questioning, why would you do that in the middle of the day, do that at the end of the day, and then make it optional for people to leave early? But no, it was slam poetry. What I will say, though, positive note, is one of the poets led us into an activity using restorative practices, which I have recently been trained on, and humble brag, my program that I have been overseeing has actually been utilizing restorative practices since I started. That's apparently my methodology. So we were able, we're really excited to implement it. because we're kind of already doing it and we've got the groundwork laid for it already, which is really exciting. So that was a positive, as it then led into a restorative practice or restorative justice circle, which I was able to lead for the group and get our talking pieces on the table. And gosh, I might not be making any sense to you right now, but it makes sense to me. And then let's see, Friday night, my son and I watched a movie together. So I'll put this little popcorn. My son is very into horror movies. And sorry, I'm just pausing because I think I want to put I'll put one of these here. TMI, but it is what it is. My son's very into horror movies, so when we do a family movie night, he always wants to look at the horror section on Netflix or Amazon Prime. And yeah, that'll go there. So we watched Ouija on Netflix, and yeah, so then after we watch a scary movie, I like to embed whatever the jump scare thing is into the next couple of days. So we've been having a good laugh about that. Tuesday, I actually got a little sassy with one of my colleagues at the conference. One thing that I find to be very valuable is speaking positively about the team that you work with, regardless of what their strengths or their deficits might be. If you're trashing them, if you're just talking about how terrible they are and what they can't do, then you're making the problem their problem, as opposed to thinking about what you can do as a leader, as a manager, to help them grow. And so one of my colleagues was speaking negatively about their teachers, and it's a new colleague that I had this visceral emotional reaction, and I latched onto what she was saying and started correcting her, which was not the right thing to do. I'll be honest. I will own that. But I just needed her to stop talking because she was being very unproductive. And then interestingly, she came in the next day and said her goal for that next day was to talk less. So maybe I made an impact, or maybe I was just a jerk. I could have just been a jerk. That's very fair. Let me see. This was a very busy day because I knew I had the 3 days of conference coming up, so I had a lot to do. I probably could have put one of those. That's okay. And today I paused on the unplug stickers because I'm really hoping today I can really unplug. That's my goal for today. Yesterday, as a family, we went to, or I'll talk about that in a moment, but we did a fun family activity, and then we did a neighborhood activity in the afternoon. All right, so let me put that aside, and let's flip to this page. I think I've been skipping this part, but I wanted to start with this. So I will be using my Rosa Lilac, which is inked up with Ferris Wheel Press Glistening Glass. Or I should say Laban Rosa Lilac. Now I do have a little issue going on with my wrist right now. Dr. Erin, in her Google search, I believe it's tendonitis. but I've been icing it. And it's my right wrist, so I'm having a hard time figuring out how to rest it. But I ordered a wrist brace this morning, so that will come tomorrow. And I'm done working on Tuesday, so then I'm hoping I can just give my wrist a nice rest the back half of next week and into the weekend. And hopefully it'll be good, but I have some pain right here and then some numbness right here. So we'll see. It'll be fine. My husband was just giving me a little loving lecture on resting it. And I said, well, I have to go film my videos. And he said, well, don't use your right hand. And I said, well, I can't write with my left hand. And then he jokingly offered to write for me while I talk. I love him dearly, but his handwriting is atrocious. And if you hear any chatter in the background, that's my son. He's playing a game with a friend online. Okay. Such a beauty. Matches my nails. All right, so this will go back in here. And then let's go over to, yeah, I did finish that. All right, so last Sunday I filmed, and I had just come off of a very busy weekend, so I took Sunday as a rest day. That tends to be my kind of MO, is to rest. I did do a Peloton cycle class, which it felt really good to get on the bike and do that cycle. Monday, like I said, I was very busy that day. I felt super productive and got a lot of stuff done at work because I knew that I had the conference coming up. Now, I was interested in, so I did my Currently Inked, and the Sailor Ink Studio 123 was coming out exceptionally teal, and so I then wrote with it on the 31st, and you can see a little bit that it starts out lighter and then it gets darker as the page goes on. So I just find that to be really intriguing. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, I was at a Department of Education Leadership Institute. So I used the Narwhal Tromso, which has Robert Oster Polar Vortex and Atlas Stationer's exclusive ink in it. And I love this ink. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So with this DESE Leadership Institute, the commute was a little lengthy. I think I calculated it. It was about 8.5 hours of commute time across 3 days. For some of you, that might not seem like a big deal, but for someone who's used to a 20-25 minute commute, that's time lost. But interestingly, the conference on Tuesday, I left the conference feeling very negative. You know, I had that negative interaction with a colleague. The content seemed out of my wheelhouse, given my background and what I've done my whole career. And I was feeling inadequate, and I don't like feeling inadequate. It's not my favorite. So I came into Wednesday. I was feeling a little down. I got there early and I went and found a place to sit and just started plugging away at some work emails and working on some referrals and things like that. But then the conference content was better on Wednesday. I felt more competent with the content. I also had a really nice lunch conversation with some other colleagues, but the ride home was incredibly long. And I realized when I got home, my muscles were all really tightened up because on the way in to the conference, as I was driving on the highway in the middle lane, it was pretty congested. So I was maybe going 20 miles per hour. And as I drove by some cars on the left, in the left lane, they got into an accident. And so I heard the crunch. And so the crunch sound was replaying in my head all day. And I was in a head-on collision in November of 2021. So I still think I've got a little bit of maybe, I don't know, PTSD or whatnot from that. But my entire back was tightened up by Wednesday evening. And I was just utterly exhausted. Thursday, final day of the conference, and my favorite thing, they brought a couple of students in to speak to this room full of teachers, administrators, and building administrators and district administrators. And there was one student in particular that my eyes started to tear up, and it just, like, that's why we do what we do every day, is for those students, in which we make a difference in their life and we challenge them and positively impact them and leave an impact. And I turned to one of my colleagues who he tends to be a little on the negative side. And I just looked at his face and I said, "How does this not warm your heart?" And he joked and said that he doesn't have a heart. And I said, "Have you ever seen the movie The Grinch?" And he said, "Only the first half." And I said, that tracks. That makes sense. He was joking. I was joking. But yeah, so that was a really nice moment. And then Friday I went to work and I did not feel productive on this day, but I also had I had to follow up on a student issue that had happened Thursday afternoon, where the students went on a field trip and just forgot that they were with school, and they were running around a park like clowns, and they were on the swings, and parents were pulling their toddlers off the swings, and they were running around with no shoes on, which is not safe, and a couple of them ran into a parking lot, which is not safe, and they were being clowns. So I needed to meet with some of the students to follow up on that, and had some challenging conversations, and discussed kind of what some consequences were going to be, and losses of privileges and things like that. And and then there were a couple of other meetings that I had to attend. So kind of what I went into with a plan for Friday didn't actually happen. So those days I feel really unproductive. And then Saturday we went to Tower Hill Botanical Garden and our Arboretum, and did a walk around, did all the little paths, saw the plants and the trees and things like that. And then my neighbor is out of state for the weekend and had said to my family and another family, feel free to use the pool. So myself and my other neighbor, we went over to the pool and floated around for a little bit, because I don't like going in water. I am more of a floater than a submerser. That's not a word. I made it up. And then my husband came over and joined us, and he and I got to chit chat for a while, and we had tacos for dinner, and so that was my Saturday. So today is going to be my day of rest, and that hopefully will start off the final week of my extended school year program, and then I have my summer vacation part 2, which I'm very excited for. Thank you for watching. I hope that you had a lovely week, and my next video will be my weekly plan with me. All right, bye.